Hello and welcome back to Election Time News, your one-stop for political summations, poll reviews, nonpartisan predictions, and reviews and compilations on other political forecasters. Today is Friday, April 4th, 2025, and today I'm actually going to be going over the Australian election, which is now one short month away as well. The leading Labour Party versus the Liberal National Coalition. Looking at the current seat distribution, this is the current things with including the few independents that are currently sitting there that have dropped from their parties or have been kicked out from their parties during their time sitting there, as well as the minority parties in their seats. And here is, this is the coalition map with the Liberal National Coalition as one unit, and here is the raw party by party map showing all of these seats based on purely what the actual legal party affiliation of each candidate is. So based on that, you can see that it is, of course, 77 to 55. Alright, apparently there's a few things I need to fix real quick, but I'll have that by next video. It's not too big of an issue, but I will absolutely make sure that's fixed. I don't remember where I got that from. Number of independents is correct. Just the coalition has 2 more seats than they should, which means that there's vacancies. So, alright, so to start things out, the Labour Party did manage to pull off a win in the previous election in 2022. If we look at the map, you can see they actually lost the popular vote, but they did get the lead in the two-party preferred vote. So that means that they, of course, did end up getting that total there, but so that was after the primaries, and so they then did win the two-party preferred, and they held a majority. They gained 9 seats, taking a stronger majority here, taking the majority actually from the coalition in 2019. They also changed leaders as well at that point to Anthony Albanese. So, first time since 2007. And also, they then did 2025. The leader of the coalition has also changed to Dutton, but unfortunately for the coalition, there's still a recent polls from YouGov, Australian YouGov. Albanese leads Dutton as preferred prime minister, 45 to 40%. Headline voting intention is actually 37 to 31, so that is quite a bit of a lead for the coalition in the primary, but in the two-party preferred, it is a deadline 50-50. And Albanese has the lead 45 to 40 to 15 undecided for prime minister. So if anything, just purely based on the tied two-party preferred vote, this would give the Labour Party the edge, as these the slight undecided margins that are going to be pushed in here, looks like they probably pushed undecideds here, is going to go towards Albanese. He almost has 50%. So Albanese has a net satisfaction rating of -9, but Dutton -5. So there's a sample size of 1,500 Australians here. So that's also a bit of an old poll, but it's the newest one from YouGov that I specifically was able to find, March 14th through 19th. So that's half a month old, but still the two-party preferred 50-50. So that's literally as close as it can get. Now, we could see completely different things happen. We thought that the 2024 American presidential was going to be a dead heat, and then Trump won relatively considerably well. So then but then also here, Labor's one seat short of a majority in YouGov's second MRP of the 2025 Australian election. This is YouGov's projection here. This MRP model shows Australia is on course for a hung parliament, but just narrowly, with Labour would only need 1 shy of a majority, and they would have half of the seats. So Albanese would have a strong position here. They do have a map here, of course. And so they apparently conducted 38,000 interviews, and they modeled 10,200 respondents. So based on this, looking to their range of results here, low would be now here's their C/C projection. I'm not going to go over that, just more of a general thing to get into it, kind of like I did with the Canadian elections, more general for the first one as I'm continuing to learn more about the system. But here's a few seats projected to change hands. Labor's projected to lose the seat in Aston that they won. That was actually the first time that a lead party actually flipped a seat from the main opposition since 1920. Yes, the first time an incumbent government has won a seat from the opposition since 1920. So they did actually gain a seat, but according to this model, they are expected to lose it. Labor to Liberal, Labor to Liberal, and then Liberal to Labor, actually in Deakin. Green to Labor, Brisbane being one of them. Cowper, I might butcher a few of these names. There's a few that I do know how to pronounce, but I'm going to butcher a few of them. If any of you know how to pronounce this, then please do let me know in the comments. That would be very helpful. Cowper, National to Independent, and Liberal to Independent for Wennon. So, the first preference votes actually do have, again, a 35.5% for the coalition, 29.8% for Labor. Is actually going to have increased support for Labor, which is mainly going to be taken from independents, potentially from One Nation, and a bit from the Greens. But others are also going to get it more increase there. But then two-party preferred, basically a dead heat, 50.2 to 49.8, which is a slight lowering from the two-party preferred vote in 2022. And now they're actually getting a strong showing from the Greens, the Independents, and just barely losing others. But of course, One Nation, being a very conservative leaning party, is going to go for the Liberal National Coalition. So we're seeing more of these, of where there were huge conservative explosions across the entire globe over the past year. We're starting to see a shift back in favor of more liberal and left-leaning parties across the world, such as also in Canada. According to The Guardian here, and I do know about Poll Bludger. I'm going to be getting into that next video. I have to learn a bit more about their UI and all that. But coalitions leading in the polls here, they actually have two-party preferred, with the coalition in the lead, and the primary vote, strong lead for the coalition. And definitely stronger support for the coalition, but of course that is, shared by YouGov. So there's definitely most likely, as far as the polls have here, there's going to be, as you can see here, again, lost support that's moving to the left, which is going to be more support for the coalition. There's going to be less support for Labor, especially in the primary, but the two-party preferred is really what matters here. But according to this, it actually shows that Labor has been gaining especially since the beginning of the month, but it has been slowly moving since the beginning of January. The beginning of 2025 is really what shifted quite a few countries around the globe to go more towards the left. We have a few polls out here where the Labor is quite a bit in the lead, as you can see by those dots, but there's more consistently polls where coalition has a narrow lead, so they are still in the lead in the Guardian's polling average. Primary support generally declined since the last election. Their maximum, according to the Guardian, is now down by 2.1%. The coalition is right about where they were on average. Not a little bit support increase, a little bit of increased support for the Greens, a little bit of support for others. So that there's going to be a large range there, of course, but according to this, the coalition will absolutely get more of this primary vote than Labor, which would, of course, be the exact same as it was last time. Now, this is interesting. Here's a similarity to American politics. The more left-leaning and liberal parties are doing better amongst younger voters than older voters, and you're also seeing that the more conservative party is doing better amongst these older voters than the younger voters. So we're seeing those parallels here amongst these two developed nations. I believe the same is also true for Canada. Also, based on education level, the more left-leaning ones are getting more support from college graduates, university graduates, and no tertiary education are more likely to go for the coalition. Men are more likely to support the coalition. Women are more likely to support the Labor Party. So again, we're seeing more things in line here. Now, this is interesting. This is the MRP done by YouGov, of course, right here. They actually used it in their average here, 50.2, 49.8. Looks like quite a few of these actually did push undecideds, but a few did not here. I'm not 100% sure where these are from, though. So, now The Guardian actually does have a more in-depth list of some interesting seats to watch. And so this will be more what I'm going into next video and such. So I'm not even going to try to say these names. If you know how to say any of these, I will probably be looking them up. But if you could say below, that would also be very helpful. So former prime minister for 3 decades, but then it actually very, very close liberal seat margins. So it's definitely going to be one that they're going to try to hold on to. In Sydney, they're retiring Liberal, so that's going to be an open seat there. Teal Independent is going to be trying to take that seat, so that's going to be an open seat. Of course, there's no incumbency there. There's going to be an independent, so that's going to be a running independent 3-way contest with another independent and a national candidate. So the question is, how well will the independent do against the named candidate there? So, of course, there's not as big of an issue in Australia with independents and third-party candidates as there are in America. There's a huge difference there all around the world. America is actually the weird one in that situation. Nationals, it's now being taken down by another independent, down to 2.5%. The question is, will it go further? And then you also have more down here. More 2.64, 1.8, 3.5, 5. This one's, honestly, Sydney itself probably isn't going to be too competitive. That's just going to be an interesting one to see how high that could end up getting as well. And you have Queensland and Victoria, and you get into Western Australia, Southern Australia, Tasmania, Northern Territory, and Australian Capital Territory. So there's quite a few seats that are going to be highly contested, of course, that we're going to be going more over in the next video. In the meantime, it is basically a deadlock in quite a few models, and the polls are showing that it will be very, very tight down until election night, and it could be getting even closer in the meantime. So thank you all so much for watching. If you're interested in more kind of content like this, including American, Canadian, and Australian elections, make sure to subscribe. And thank you all so much for watching. Election Time News. There's never a dull moment in politics. Thank you all, and have a fantastic rest of your day.